So a major misconception that people have about elections is that after a major nationwide election, like a presidential election or a midterm, it's a snooze fest for another 2 years until you get to the next nationwide major election. And that's just not true. Elections are conducted on a rolling basis. Just in the coming weeks and months, there are tons of local elections that are being held. I guess February 12th is a huge day for primaries in Oklahoma public schools. The, the, the list is much longer. It just doesn't fit on here, but you get the point. And obviously, I can't cover the primary in South Carolina's 6th state Senate district with the amount of coverage that I can a midterm or a presidential election, but it's important to know when these local elections are happening and who's on the ballot in your area. So that being said, obviously all eyes have shifted to 2020, and like others, I've made preliminary, very early predictions about how the Senate and gubernatorial fields look. And obviously I'll be covering these in a lot more detail in another episode and episodes as we get closer to 2020. I mean, we're 2 years away. But one interesting thing is that the three states on this governor's map that are rated as toss-ups, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Kentucky, are the exact same three states that are not holding elections in 2020, but even earlier, right this year in 2019. And they're joined by New Jersey and Virginia, which are holding elections for their legislatures. So obviously 5 out of 50 states, not all states, but a good handful of diverse states that are holding major elections, which are going to shape public policy and perception of the two parties this very year. So in addition to states, there are a lot of local elections that are being held. And a problem with these local off-year elections is that people just completely forget about them. I mean, even these states, people give some coverage, but often, off-year local elections, everyone forgets about and it gets like zero coverage. And that's really unfortunate because local politics can shape communities and individuals to a much greater extent at times than national and even state politics can. So I think it's important to look at these major and non-major local elections and give them the same fair shot that we give to presidential nominees. So in addition to all this, I've been thinking, what new segments can I include in Election Scoop? And one thing I did want to look at is the 2020 presidential nominees. And so even before the 2018 midterms, this guy, Maryland Congressman John Delaney, announced his candidacy for President of the United States. And he's been joined by a whole slew of Democratic candidates, with many more along the way, who want to become the holder of the nation's highest position. And one thing that I think can happen is people choose a candidate that they like and then forget about all the other candidates. And I don't want that to happen. I want to look at who really are these candidates, not just their sound bites and campaign ads, but a more wholesome view of each candidate. So that when you go and cast your primary ballot, whether it be Democratic or Republican, you really know who all the candidates are and be ready to make an informed decision about which one of them deserves your vote. So that's kind of the outlook of what Election Scoop's going to be doing in the short, medium, and long terms. There are elections, again, as I said, on a rolling basis. There's already a special election for a House seat in Pennsylvania, and so we'll definitely be covering that. And in addition to election news, we'll be trying to bring you as much in-depth analysis and predictions as we can as 2019 turns into 2020 and some of the most important elections of the year play out. So thanks for watching, and remember, don't forget to vote.